Boy, what a way to end AEW Dynamite. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, AJ Love, here to bring you your weekly AEW Dynamite review. Was a solid show as we're picking up the build towards AEW's 1-year anniversary show, which is on October 14th. Which is, of course, followed by Full Gear in November. Was a solid show. We had the parking lot fight between best friends Santana Ortiz at the end of the show. We had tag team match between FTR and Jurassic Express, which was well. We also got built apparently for next week. We got some cohesion between Lance Archer and Team TAZ. We'll go over all that on the podcast. I mean, I had a feeling with Tony Khan's Jacksonville Jaguars picking up a win Sunday, it was going to be more amped, more excited to produce a solid show, and which they did. So let's get into the review, shall we? So the show started off with FTR versus Jurassic Express. This was intriguing because Jurassic Express have been kind of on a roll as of late. They won that 8-man tag last week versus the Lucha Brothers. They beat the Lucha Brothers last week. And then, of course, I believe they beat, I was confused on who they beat correctly. They lost to Young Bucks, but prior to that, they were on a little bit of a roll. But this was a good match. The show started off pretty interesting, though. Jurassic Express, they were in the ring. The Young Bucks, they came into the ring, super kicked the referee. Then they came back through Gorilla, and they tossed a stack of bills to Tony Khan, who was sitting in Gorilla, basically saying, "You're going to fine us for kicking a ref?" Okay, they do it again. Then they walked back past FTR, which were kind of snickering at the fact. They're like, okay, the Young Bucks are kind of falling apart. But I love the little tension. I love the little back and forth, because we are going to get FTR versus Young Bucks at Full Gear. Believe that is so. Just how they go to the build is, of course, the intriguing part, but we'll get there. So then FTR came out, and it was a decent match. Again, they were isolating Jungle Boy. They landed a faceplant suplex on him for a 2 count. Then, of course, Luchasaurus got the hot tag. Blindside, or not blindside, but took out FTR. There were moments in this match where Jungle Boy, he almost got FTR with a 3 count. They were trading back and forth, roll ups for near falls. At the end of the match, Luchasaurus, he tried dive to, I believe, Cash Wheeler, and then he took himself out, dived over the guardrail onto the wrestlers at ringside. So Jungle Boy hit a tope suicida on Cash on the outside, then went for a sunset flip on Dax Harwood in the ring. But then Tully Blanchard and Cash Wheeler both changed the momentum and helped, using the ropes, helped stack up Jungle Boy 1, 2, 3 for the win. Jurassic Express, they almost had him. They looked strong, but FTR, they get the win. A little worried because they mentioned it on commentary that they were going to go the WWE route, where, Jurassic Express beats the champs, and then they get a title match next week. Luckily, they didn't go that way. Jurassic Express still looks good in defeat. And we got a little interaction with FTR and the Young Bucks on the way to the feud, for which I assume is going to be culminating at Full Gear. So then they announced again that Chris Jericho and Jake Hager are going to face Private Party later in the evening. So Matt Hardy is like the mentor, the guide of Private Party as of late. So Matt Hardy was seen attacked backstage. Alex Marvez, he was trying to get a word with Isaiah Cassidy, but Matt Hardy was backstage holding his knee. Chris Jericho, they came in, and Jake Hager, and they said to Matt Hardy, well, you're probably not the luckiest guy in the world this week. And then he had Floyd the Bat with him, basically showing they had something to do with him and do with it. And then they told Private Party, we'll see you later in the ring. So there was that. It's going to be 2-on-2 now between Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, and Private Party. So next we had Frankie Kazarian versus Hankman Adam Page. This was a good match for what it was. Frankie Kazarian, don't see him a lot in singles action, although we see him a few times. He is a solid wrestler, but obviously the story, Frankie's best bet is in a tag team with SCU, whether that's Daniels, Scorpio Sky. But this was a good match with Hankman. Kenny Omega was on commentary. Yeah, but this was good. There was a big DT by Kaz for 2 count. He hit an unpreair. Hangman, he actually hit a modified Looked like a pump handle deathbound driver for a near fall. Was a big lariat for Kaz for the 2 count. Then a sit-out powerbomb. Kaz was going for a springboard, but Hangman caught him and hit him with a sit-out powerbomb for their fall. Then they were exchanging back and forth, and then Hangman hit a buckshot lariat on Kazarian for the win. Kenny Omega, he was going back and forth with the commentary team, talking about his loss with Hangman against FTR at All Out, their dissension. Then Hangman won, and then automatically Kenny, he looked at Hangman from the distance, and then went back through the tunnel, and Hangman, he was celebrating, and he looked back and noticed Kenny wasn't there. The story is still building between Hangman and Kenny Omega. This is just a thought, but I would love to see a match between them two at Full Gear. I believe that would be a very fun match. Of course, Kenny Omega, he said he wants to be a singles competitor again. Hangman, he said that he's considering trying to get a rematch with Kenny against FTR. But I mean, clearly there's dissension, and I would love to see a match with them too, whether it's at the 1-year anniversary show or All Out. Full Gear. I believe that would be fun. But so next we had MJF versus Sean Dean. This was short. MJF he landed this, or he applied the salt to the earth Fujiwara armbar. Dean tapped out quickly. Excuse me. This was more about what MJF said after the match. He talked about how Moxley cheated, and because of that, he should be the AEW World Champion. And because of that, he is to be referred to now as the undisputed, uncrowned AEW World Heavyweight Champion. And he made Justin Roberts announce him as that. And then he said that to get recognized around here, that you gotta be part of a stable. So he said he's always fancied himself as a lone wolf, and how maybe he should be part of a wolf pack. Maybe he should join a stable, and whether he does join a stable or not, that he's better than you, and you know it. Solid promo by MJF. I not totally agree with Moxley beating him at All Out, but then again, this is a way out for them. MJF should be the world champion. Should probably get another title shot in the future Whether that's against Moxley, whether that's against Archer, we'll see. As far as the faction goes, I'm not sure what it can be. Maybe it's a new stable. I don't think, considering all the stables right now, with Eddie Kingston's crew, with the Nightmare family, with FTR, I just don't think that. Well, and the Dark Order, I just don't think that, or even the Inner Circle, I don't think MJF would fit in any of the current stables right now. I don't think he needs a stable, but be interesting to see where this leads to. So, speaking of Eddie Kingston's crew, our family, he likes to call him, he was out there with Butcher and Blade and Lucha Brothers. Talked about how family sometimes they fights, and how sometimes if they do, they go out to dinner, they make up, etc., etc. So they said that they get violent. So Butcher and Blade, they took out some jobbers that were in the crowd, and then tossed them in the ring, and they and Lucha Brothers beat them up, and A. Kingston once again said that he was never eliminated from the Battle Royal, and how he should get something instead of Moxley or Archer, etc. And he told Blade that he needs to fix up what's happening in his family right now. So we go for that. So now Blade is married to Allie, and of course there's the angle with QT Marshall and Allie. Now, I'm guessing that this means that they'll target the Nightmare family or Natural Nightmares soon. Should be a nice undercard feud, but Butcher and Blade versus Natural Nightmares, I wouldn't mind that. A match between them two. And A. Kingston, he mentioned again that he was never eliminated from the Royal. So maybe this is a way for A. Kingston to integrate himself in the title match on October 14th between Moxley and Archer. But be interesting to see where this leads to and what happens from it. So next we had Private Party versus Jake Hager and Chris Jericho. This was obviously Clash Styles, the high flying ability of Private Party, combined with the ground map based wrestling of Jake Hager. This is good for what it was. There are a few moments when Private Party almost had Jake Hager, or excuse me, Chris Jericho pinned. But in the end, Chris Jericho hit the juice effect on Isaiah Cassidy for the win. After match, they were trying to attack Isaiah Cassidy after bell, but Mark Quinn dropped Jericho. I like that little seriousness out of Mark Quinn. Private Party is really young, so let's get at that too. But this is part of the story of Chris Jericho and Jake Hager trying to get a in the rankings as far as the tag team title picture is concerned. So 1-0 as a team. Good for them. So next we had Thunder Rosa defend the NWA Women's Championship against Elise. Both are pretty good women's wrestlers. Thunder Rosa, she hit the Thunder Rosa driver for the win. Afterwards, Diamante, who was Elise's partner in the Deadly Draw tournament, attacked Rosa after bell, and then Sheeta came in. Excuse me. Fended off. Fended off Diamante, and then handed the NWA. Well, reluctantly, but she handed the NWA Women's Championship to Thunder Rosa. Now, last week, Sheeta saved Ty Conti from Nyla Rose. This case, Sheeta saved Rosa from Elise Diamante, and apparently there's going to be a tag team match next week. What is the lead? I don't know, because we saw an interaction between Sheeta and Nyla Rose. We saw an interaction between Sheeta and Thunder Rosa. Now, of course, Rosa and Sheeta had a great match at All Out. Maybe they do a title for title. Maybe it's a triple threat with Nyla at Full Gear. I'm not sure. But I'm glad to see more Thunder Rosa on Dynamite, especially since NWA Power or NWA in general is not running at the moment, running shows. So good for them and good for their women's division. So we go from that to Kip Sabian with Miro. Miro, he was doing bench press with Penelope Ford spotting him. Kip Sabian, he was cutting a promo. Miro, he finished and he talked to Sabian, saying that as the best man, it's his duty to give him the best bachelor party for Kip Sabian. And they said it was going to be really good, and said it was Kip Sabian's turn to do bench press. So I'm enjoying so far the 2 weeks of Miro on AEW. A little curious when we're going to see him in a match to start, but so far, so good, I guess. So, next we had Lance Archer and Jake Roberts come out. Archer took some schmuck in the crowd, beat him up, gave him a big choke slam in the ring. Jake, he was talking about how sometimes observations don't make the matter sense. How you can see a woman, you like sleeping with someone else you would never thought, and then he said how he's got to dance with the devil. So he said, might as well with the Tasmanian devil. So he called out Taz. So Taz came out and Taz mentioned how there was an agreement with Team Taz, Lance Archer, and Jake Roberts that so next week there's going to be a 6-man tag. On one side it will be Lance Archer, Ricky Starks, and Brian Cage, and that enlisting the help of Team Taz that if Lance Archer beats Moxley, then Brian Cage will get the first crack at Lance Archer's AEW World Title. So there's that, and then Moxley came out in the Raptors by the stage, or excuse me, by the seats. He was about to say something, and out of nowhere, Ricky Starks, dressed as a fan, attacked Moxley while in the stands. Then he was blindsided by Brian Cage. They were ganging up on him, and then Will Hobbs came out of nowhere with a chair, helped fend off Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, and Jon Moxley announced that for his first tag team partner that Will Hobbs will be, and then he called to Darby Allin at home and said, "Get your ass to Daniel's place next week." So we got Jon Moxley, Will Hobbs, Darby Allin versus Lance Archer, Ricky Starks, and Brian Cage next week. Should be a fun 6-man tag. Should be interesting. So then we get to the main event. Now, Best Friends versus Santana Ortiz. Now, Santana Ortiz, they've been fun to watch. Of course, the great depth that the tag team division has in AEW, and the fact that these, along with the Lucha Brothers, are not in the top 5, shows you how deep they are. And the Best Friends, of course, they fought for the tag team titles at Fyter Fest. They've been high and cold lately. Now, this feud has been fun, I would say. Obviously, Santana Ortiz, they wrecked the Best Friends minivan, or Trent's mom's minivan. Then they messed up Best Friend's gear. So a bunch of little particles of story going in here. And this was fun. This was brutal. This was what a parking lot fight should be. And when it comes to wrestling, hats off to all 4 of the guys that were involved, because some of these spots were just ridiculous. So The best friends were in the parking lot. Cars surrounded. Some of the AEW roster was surrounded. I'm not sure if there were fans surrounding cars, but there were definitely people around. So then Santana Ortiz came in and they had this like face paint, no recollection. They just looked like killers. Basically, like they got into a mode for this parking lot fight. So this was chaotic from the start. Ortiz, he was sandwiched between the hood of a car, and then I believe Trent hit a dive off the top of the car onto the hood, which was had sandwiched Ortiz. That was a cool spot. Then there was a piece of plywood set up between a hood of a car or the front of a car, and then Trent he speared Ortiz into the plywood. Not a good spot. Ortiz, he was actually suplexed then on a guardrail that was like bridged on this other car to the floor by Trent. And then Trent, he was actually powerbombed on the roof of the car by Ortiz, which was Bruce Watt. Trent, just, geez. So then, it was an assisted powerbomb, double team by Santana Ortiz. They powerbombed Trent, who was not wearing a shirt or anything. He was powerbombed on through a windshield of a car, and there was glass through the back of Trent's back, and his back was bleeding. It was just brutal. So then Santana Ortiz, they had the advantage. Santana was wailing on Chuck Taylor, who had his head near the back of a car. Then he pulled out a lead pipe and looked to wipe out Chuck with it. But out of the hood of the car, or out the trunk of the car, came Orange Cassidy with a chain around his knuckles. Excuse me. Knocked out Santana with an orange punch with the chain wrapped around his knuckles. And then Chuck took out Ortiz with a pile driver on a hood of a car. And then Trent hit a strong zero tombstone on Ortiz through a piece of plywood that was on top of a trunk of a truck, and then pinned Ortiz 1, 2, 3. The best friends to get revenge for Trent's mom. Brutal street parking lot fight. Couldn't really ask for much. Orange Cassidy saved the best friends, but it was in solid fashion. Then afterwards, Trent and Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy, they got into, I'm guessing, Trent's mom's new van, and then they drove off. But before they did, as AEW went off the show, Trent's mom, Sue, flipped off Santana Ortiz. So that was hilarious and a brutal way to end the show. Was a solid parking lot fight from all four combatants. It was a good show. In 2 weeks, we have the 1 year anniversary show, but of course, next week is a solid lineup. We got that 6-man tag. We got tag team match between Shida and Thunder Rosa for Elise Diamante. Plus so much more. But that was the show, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm Joe Chuanov. If you're new, like and subscribe. Clicking that bell. I'll be back tomorrow with your NXT review. But thank you all and be safe.